Three-day losing streak, but could trade fears still continue to rattle the market? Reports President Trump could propose a package of anti-trade measures, including more tariffs. Well, let's go to market watcher Craig Smith. He's been calling for a crackdown on China for years. Well, Craig, apparently the U.S. Trade Representative said, hey, you know what? We've done this Section 301 investigation. China is cheating in every way possible. We want to hit them with $30 billion of tariffs, and President Trump apparently said, no, make it $60 billion. Can we be too tough in this first salvo?
Well, I love Trump. I mean, think about it, Charles. He's laying down the gauntlet knowing that if he says 60, maybe he'll get 30. I mean, yes, the answer is I think it's proper that we finally crack down on China. I've been talking about it since the 90s. When we allowed them to join the World Trade Organization in 2001, I started screaming about it. They're clearly currency manipulators. They're clearly stealing intellectual properties, not just from us, but from other countries. And that's why I love what Larry Kudlow's talking about, putting together a trade coalition that we as a coalition can go to China and say, look, this is not the free markets don't mean it's the wild, wild west. Whoever has the biggest gun isn't allowed to kill everybody and steal everything.
Yeah. Let me ask you, though, Craig. I don't have any faith in the so-called trade coalition. I think Europe is done. I was just reading an article of the top 35 technology companies in the world. Only 3 are in Europe, and they're struggling, Nokia and Ericsson. And to me, this is a battle between the United States, China, and the Asian nations around China, because they're going to dominate the world economically. And I'm not sure what that means to our lifestyle, but it's sort of worrisome.
Well, there's no doubt about that China is going to be, if we don't get our acts together, the largest economy in the world. And we have to deal with that. But in order for them to be the largest economy, Charles, they need us as a client. And you can't just abuse your clients forever and not expect the day of what Larry Kudlow referred to today as comeuppance. You know, Charles, when I heard that comment from Kudlow, who's a free market guy, and he's loath of tariffs. So, I mean, he's going to have to bend a little bit in order to make this work. But when I heard that word, I thought for sure the market would sell off. I don't have a screen in front of me, but I think it's up a couple hundred points. And so apparently the market is not seeing a trade war in the future here. And I remember the same thing when Donald Trump said, my nuclear button's bigger than yours. Everybody said, oh, my gosh, there's going to be a nuclear war on the Korean Peninsula. Hey, we're sitting down with Kim Jong-un right now trying to figure things out. I'm not ultimately positive about that. I'm just saying we're at least talking.
Sure.
And so the reality is I think Mr. Trump – hey, look, I'll leave it at this, Charles. Under Obama's administration, we had Penny Pritzker, who was going to negotiate with Xi Jinping. I'd rather have Wilbur Ross, Larry Kudlow, and Donald Trump doing my negotiating for me if we're going to try and compete in this global environment and do it on a fair basis.
Well, to your point, I think China's taking them very seriously. And listen, they sold us $500 billion worth of stuff last year. Obviously, they've got a lot to lose. And I'm really guessing, and I really believe strongly that, Craig, and you can let me know if you agree or not, that China's going to make some concessions. They may not be $100 billion worth, but I believe they'll make enough concessions that President Trump can declare victory and China can declare victory themselves.
I'm 100% in agreement with you, Charles. I think that they're going to find a happy medium between the two. As I said, China cannot afford to lose us as their largest client. We can't afford to lose China. There's a common denominator between the two of us, and I think that finally, for the first time, China's going to say, okay, we got away with it for 20 years. Now we're going to have to sit down and start playing by some reasonable rules. Yeah. They're probably still going to break some of those rules, Charles, but it's going to be a lot fairer than it's been in the past, and I think it's a good move on behalf of the Trump administration for America.
Craig Smith, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Good seeing you, Charles.
Well, mixed messages on the border and DACA deals. We're going to have details.